Okay, don't forget this week as well, folks, that it's Careers Week at Pocket Gamer Connects Digital 8, and you can find out the latest and greatest of who's hiring and who is looking for somebody just like you. As always, you can do that information in our Discord channel. You can also use the Meet to Match to meet with people if you don't have time or an opportunity to do bits and pieces that you need to do because life's very, very busy. So please use the tools that the folks at Pocket Gamer provide for you through Steel Media and with all of our sponsors. I think it's really important that this is a place for us to connect, be happy, be one big family. You know, the games development industry is vast, and so if we can come together in these little places like now with the best of Finland, then we stand a really great chance and opportunity to be able to get more done. And on that subject, 5 silver bullets for new teams with the amazing Aarni Linnakangas from Superplus Games. How are you doing today, Aarni? It's really nice to see you.
Thank you. I'm doing very well. It's nice to see you as well. And those are some really fabulous glasses, I must say.
I know. How are you going to top it?
6 out of 5, not even 5 out of 5, but 6
wow.
out of 5.
What a recommendation. Okay, I'm going to come back in 20 minutes with some questions for you. People, if you've got questions for the amazing Aarni, he looks amazing today, by the way. I just want to say that. Put it in the Q&A box down below. Have a chat in there as well. Give us some feedback. Let us know how you feel, and we'll come back in 20 minutes, Aarni. Thanks very much indeed.
All right, thank you. So, hello everybody. As said, my name is Aarni Linnakangas. I am COO at Superplus Games, and we're mostly known for our Hills of Steel franchise, a 70 million player tank action game franchise. And today I am bringing you 5 silver bullets for new teams. I first just want to say thank you to Unity and Pocket Gamer for having me talk here and arranging all of this conferencing thingy. And you, dear audience, game folks, let's get on with it and see if I can make good on my sufficiently bold claims here. A little bit about this talk. This is mostly aimed at like smaller teams who are making their first game. Maybe you're pitching to some investors. Maybe you're going around and trying to convince people that you're somebody who can actually establish a business and make some games and keep improving them time after time. This is based on things that I wish I would have known when I was starting out at first. And these are also things that people have asked me before over the years in conferences and, IGDA meetings and stuff like that. So trying to base it in actual need. I've taken into consideration the limitations of small teams. You really don't have a lot of money. You basically have no time. You have only a few people, and each one of those people have multiple hats to wear. So they're kind of context switching all the time, so it's kind of draining on mental energy as well for everybody. But without further ado, let's get on to the first bullet. Marketing is something that I want to focus on a lot today. I think marketing is something that's easily neglected when you first start making a game and you kind of leave it at the last minute, but it is really woven into everything. It is a central part of your game design, who you're making the game for, who you're going to market it to, what are the unique selling points of your game, and how you're going to actually present those unique selling points in the marketing assets. What are your tech limitations really dictate what you're going to do with marketing. Are you going to show your ad to everybody who owns an Android phone, or maybe only everybody who has over 2 gigabytes of RAM, for example? And as much as it sucks, the landscape today is that you will not get discovered without marketing. So you really have to be thinking about this all the time, and you really have to put in the money and the resources to do this thing. A cool game is never enough, but with clever marketing, you can probably make your money back even with a bad game. Marketing is that effective. And while you're at it, I think don't just think about marketing, but run an actual campaign on your game mockups. So when you're actually designing a game, you may be doing some core game mockups with UI. and stuff like that. Maybe polish them a little bit more and run an actual image campaign ad, you know, make up a marketing slogan for it and put it up, redirect it to a website, make probably a mailing list and make people join your beta. And you can actually then, when you've released your game, you can send the link to these people and actually get some installs out of it. So the money is not wasted that way either. And I think here, one of the things is that the assets don't actually need to be that good looking, especially when you're testing out stuff. Attention grabbing is much more important in this phase. You just need to really test out if your game idea is getting any clicks, if everybody is actually interested, if they're stopping when they see your ad and actually clicking through. You can focus on the quality later. You can raise that bar later when you actually know that the game is worth making. If you've never actually done a marketing campaign for a game before, I would suggest that you just log into Unity Ads and just start a campaign. It's not that hard. You can probably get in like half an hour really working campaign for your game. And of the budget, one of the things you usually hear is that you don't have money for marketing, but I think like with 50 euros, you can already do a lot. So even if your CPI was like 50 cents, you would get 100 installs per day, and that would be 700 per week. And that's already like close to 1,000 players, which I think is a good sort of threshold after which you will know a bit about where your game is actually at, monetization wise or retention wise. And even if you use cheaper CPI countries, that CPI will go down. It'll be probably like something like 10 cents or something. And you'll get more installs. Later on, when you've actually spent some time and spent some money on the platform, you can expand to other platforms later. So add Google Ads, add Facebook, etc. in the pipeline as well. And one thing here is that you should really reach out to these platforms because they really want to like help you once you start spending more money in these platforms. Just reach out to them because they really want to give you the best practices on like creatives, how you should structure your campaigns, what sort of bids you should be having on your campaigns and stuff like that. So everybody wins when you scale up. Just keep that in mind. Bullet 2 is actually marketing creatives. So like I said, I'm going to ramble on about marketing a lot. One thing that for me was pretty hard to wrap my head around was marketing creatives when I first started. And the way I like to think of them myself is like, maybe you have a 1 second visual pitch for your game. You just have that 1 second to grab the attention of the user. And after that, you have probably like 2 seconds to keep them interested. After that, they probably will just doze out and not even care. If you think about like what it is to scroll Facebook and what it actually requires for you to stop by in an ad, you should do that. It's really hard to do. Even if you're watching a rewarded ad in a game, you usually just put the phone on the table and wait for the ad to go away. So grabbing the user attention is really, really important here, and try to find creative ways to actually grab that user for yourself. This might be a controversial point for some, but like I said, marketing kind of overwhelms everything. It's a part of everything in the game. I think marketing can and should affect game design. When games are not just the build, they're basically everything that the build is related to. They're the way you actually deliver the build to people. They're the ad, they're the store page, they're your servers, your QA, your customer support. Everything here is related, and every part of this web should be supporting each other part. So just if you feel like you can't do marketing creatives with your game that are catchy enough, then maybe affect the game design itself and make something that is marketable. I think that's a really, really valid strategy. And some words on market research. You should really look at your competitors' creatives, and you really don't need a very expensive platform for this at first. you can just go to Facebook ad library. I think that's one of the better ones to use if you just want to check like what your competitors are running. You can go there, check your competitors' ad. What are they running in United States or Japan or Russia or whatever, and kind of get more ideas on how your attention-grabbing creatives could be done. Just use it heavily. And as a side note, I wanted to include that when you're building your tools for your games in Unity editor, I think if you have some tools, for example, for jumping ahead in progression for the player or something like that, think about ways to actually include those tools to help marketing creatives doing the marketing creatives. So maybe somebody who's recording the gameplay wants to jump to another point of progression. Maybe they want to slow the time down, so you get a really cool slow-mo explosion stuff, creatives and stuff like that. Get really creative and think about how you're gonna do those creatives in the very beginning. Don't leave it to the last minute. You will thank yourself. Bullet 3, user funnel design. This is also one of the things that was kind of a revelatory thing for me back in the day when I started thinking about user funnels more expansively. Like I said, that the games are not just build, but the everything else that the build touches. And it really starts from the ad to the store page, then to the app, then to the tutorial, world 1, level 2, whatever, then all the way up to the purchases or whatever behavior you're actually measuring here. And it is really, I think it is really useful to think that everybody you're showing the ad to are basically almost your users already, or they are your users. They're just dropping off before they actually get to the store page. So try to optimize for that. And here, this is kind of a harder point to get across, but the core game is not something your user stumbles upon. You should really design the whole journey, like what do you actually want the player to do in the beginning? What do you want them to get away from the ad, the store page? What do you want them to do in the tutorial? Really think about the UX and menu. The core game is not just something you put up a menu and then the player just stumbles upon your core game and starts playing there. Really use the player motivation, create motivation for the player, and keep that motivation in mind to actually guide the player consistently towards where they need to be, and then use data to validate your qualitative decisions based on this, and not just put up a menu and then maybe instrument it with data events and then discover from the data, something's wrong in the menus. I don't know what. You should really do the thinking beforehand. And then if you want to measure this, if you've never done it, I would just, if you're using Unity, just use Unity Analytics. You can use something else later if you need to like fill in, you need more features or something. And I think your best friends would be Funnel Analyzer and Segments in there. I won't go into details on how they work. I think they are pretty straightforward and simple once you get the hang of them and once you know what you actually want to measure. But I think the tools are not the main point here. The main point here is actually knowing what to measure and starting to understand your game. And it goes a long way if you've actually designed all of the funnel steps like really carefully to begin with. Then you can start to learn which events lead to desirable purchases, what your game is actually consisting of, and what your users are actually doing in there. And then you can start using that data in your marketing campaigns and not just targeting installs after that, which leads to more money. Bullet 4. This is sort of a shorter one. But I wanted to include it because I've seen so many times this being neglected as well. So read the store guidelines, read the goddamn manual, as they say. So App Store review guidelines and Android quality guidelines, these dictate a lot of different things. They touch a lot of the things that you have in your build. button animations, stuff like that, how you handle in-app purchases. Is your back button actually functioning as it should be? If you don't do this, it can lead to submission rejections, or you might be rejected for featuring, or if you're doing something particularly nasty, you might even get actually removed from the App Store, and that's not. But you probably have to go out of your way to do something nasty to actually get to that point, to be honest. But don't do it like so that when you were actually supposed to submit the build, you're still implementing back button functionality. I've heard from people that that's not fun. Then actually for the bullet number 5, last bullet today, and it is release early and release often. So if I started now with a new team, a new company, I would probably do this. I would create game sketches for, let's say, 3 to 4 game sketches for hyper casual games. I would run a marketing campaign, pit all of those game concepts together, and pick the winner and create an MVP soft launch for that in like a couple of weeks. Then run marketing on that game, look at the data, do a couple of live ops updates, and then try to sort of optimize the game further from that, and sort of keep running this loop for a few games at least. And what this enables you to do is, if you're, for example, pitching to investors, then you have multiple small games to show. You show them that you've actually gone through the whole process from the beginning to the end. You will have lots of data, hopefully data that shows that you can actually fix issues with the game. I don't think it's a deal breaker, especially in the seed phase, if your metrics aren't that good yet. Obviously, don't go in with like day 1 retention of 10%. That's probably not going to be good for anybody. But still, it doesn't have to be perfect. Only if you have the realistic vision on how to fix those metrics, which you can probably show off when you have data on these multiple games that you've already done with your team. So keep that in mind. What it also enables you is to go through the whole process of releasing the game with your whole team. There are blind spots. In every team, there are limits, and those get revealed really rapidly. Things will go wrong. Sometimes they go horribly wrong, and it is better for things to go horribly wrong when you have developed your game for 2 weeks than 2 months or 2 years, for that matter. And your cooperation gets really well honed in, and you get a lot of experience on knowing what actually goes into the process of releasing a game to a marketplace. And that is something that you really need to have experience in to sort of get your business flowing. Last and probably the most important thing here is you'll get a bit cash flowing in. So this teaches you how the business actually flows overall. So you can start to look at your burn rate and the income that you're having and start to really see what you need to do and what kind of resources you need if you're trying to make your business profitable and make it stable, make it sustainable. You learn to optimize this, albeit on a small scale. After that, if you become really good at it, it's only mathematics. And that was all that I had to say from these bullets. I think I really hope that some of these points were useful to somebody, thought-provoking, at least in some sense. And it remains to be seen if these bullets were truly silver or golden. I think the main bullet that I want to give out is that even if you have just a small team, all of the aspects that the game have to be done anyway. And even if it's hard, and even if you are limited in resources, you can actually do them. You can go and learn Of course, another way of looking at it is that you have to do it in order to survive, in order to have a business that will live in the future as well. And I think that's the only silver bullet that counts. That's basically all I had. Thanks.
That was amazing. Thank you. It was amazing because I think all those bullets are actually golden, not silver. I think these are words to live by. And we've had a few of that today in the Developer Toolkit, especially, that we have to really put the user in the driving seat. I think it's very difficult for people to do that sometimes. So it's very refreshing to see that you have really thought this through and come up with a sort of 5-point, even though they're pretty expansive, checklist of what you kind of should do. Certainly from my perspective, working in the games industry, and you can see that I work for Core Game, the core game is like really important to me, but it means that I want to work more with marketing and sales to make sure that there is a constant, not echo chamber, but feedback loop of like consistency throughout when I'm creating games. And you have illustrated that perfectly in your presentation. So thank you, Aarni.
Thanks.
We've got some Q&A and there's a lot of love for you as well. So let's get cracking. Can you think of any examples where the marketing for a game has been potentially ruined at the beginning of the game, and have any of them managed to bounce back or come back from the brink?
Marketing has been ruined. I don't see necessarily, and I'm talking about the mobile space, you can ruin your marketing by basically spending all your money and not looking at the data. But I don't think like you can essentially ruin your marketing if you're just careful and kind of step by step use the creatives that actually work and just put your money on those, do more targeting, talk with the platforms, get their tips and insights on what you should actually do. I don't think you can actually like really ruin your marketing unless you do something like nasty.
But can marketing ruin the game, do you think?
Again, I think not. You will see if your marketing creatives actually work or not. There have been like cases where, of course, we all know like the games that sort of push the limits of marketing. So maybe they have marketing creatives that don't exactly match the game that you're going to download, and I think that can ruin a game. But I don't know in the long run if you just stop doing that, if you stop doing the things that aren't working, I don't think you can really ruin a game with marketing.
Interesting. Do you feel like you can spoon feed players too much sometimes though? The person asking the question says, when I think of some huge games like Dota, it's only been this past year that they've released a player guide in game. So do you think we give the players too much sometimes? I've seen it quite a lot.
Well, I don't know. It's hard to say. If it works for the games, I don't necessarily see that it's
your problem.
Yeah, I don't think spoon feeding is actually, of course you shouldn't spoon feed, but so many times when I play games, especially like AAA PC games that are kind of what I've played all my life, but especially now that I see like I really can't like focus on what should I actually do. It's really hard to sometimes learn the ropes of the game, so to say, because the UI design I think has generally in the past in games been kind of the thing that nobody wants to do, and you give it to the intern, and it's not that important. The core game is what matters. The graphics are what matters, but that's really not the case. I think usability is so important, and that will bring like so many more players to your game. I don't think you can over communicate that much. I mean, probably you can, but I don't have a lot of examples of like spoon feeding.
How do you deal with negative reviews? And how do they form part of the 5 silver bullets?
Negative reviews. Well, how do we deal with them? Yeah. Well, there are multiple perspectives on dealing with negative reviews. One is, of course, the psychological. You have to like understand that they might not be personal. Everybody in the internet uses anonymity to say some really nasty stuff. That's a real issue. It can sometimes hurt a lot when somebody says some really nasty things about you and your game. That's one way. That's one thing that has to be dealt with. Then you just have to remember the people who actually love and send you like their fan art. Like we've received, like people have made a snow tanks and stuff like that, which are like amazing to receive something like that from the fans. But then from the product side, it's actually a bit more of a large work. We usually try to like find out what the user is actually saying, what's actually driving them nuts about the game. What is the actual issue there, or are they just trolling? Basically, great customer support and great answering and trying to ask the right question from them is. I'm not the expert on that issue, so I can't really say any tips on how to do that well. We have professionals taking care of that in our company. I don't know how to do that. That's magic to me. But then the one side is that if there actually is an issue in the game, you of course have to deal with that. You have to take a look at if there's a bug or if something is actually a bit too hard or something. That's
absolutely.
one side, so.
I was going to say that's usually the direction of travel that people are going in when they start making negative reviews. It's because there's something that's happening in the game that we're not aware of as the developers. So we need to get in there quick and sort of figure it out. How do you at Superplus best understand your audience? There's plenty of data around, and you can get data wranglers to work stuff out like that. But you seem like the kind of guy that is a bit more hands-on and not just sort of fed data. So how do you best understand your audience, and what tips could you give our audience in figuring that out?
Well, I would say one is, of course, that you always have an idea who your players are from the very beginning. So when you design the game, like I said, sort of having the idea who your actual audience is. And then one part is just the customer support and reviews, taking a really close look at those and what the community is actually thinking in terms of that. A really big part of it is just gathering data and looking at the data on where your users are coming from and how are they playing and what game modes are they playing and how much are they playing and how much are they paying and stuff like that. Then, of course, doing scouring in the internet. We have a lot of YouTube videos that people do. That's been a really, really great way for us to actually see what the community is like and what they actually enjoy, what they laugh at. There's a lot of like fan videos about our game in YouTube going on. Searching for those constantly is one way. We also have, luckily, a very active Discord with a lot of members. That's, of course, a really good way to understand the core audience and what are the sort of the players that actually like care about our games and stay there for the longest time.
I've been playing games for about, well, 1 million years, and I myself feel sometimes that we have come such a long way with community. Discord for now is the icing on the cake, but where do you see the kind of community maintenance in games sort of coming together in the future? We're obviously talking tomorrow, especially about the metaverse, and that's a place that's awash with community, effectively. And if you go onto massively multiplayer platforms and stuff, there is a lot of community that needs to be wrangled there. And if you've got Discord running and Twitter, and you've got this and this and this, where's that sweet spot?
That's probably not $1 million question, but probably $1 billion question, to be honest. And I can't really answer it, but yeah, we're just in the stepping stones of this whole social thing. And I think the thing about like any type of like social phenomenon is that you really cannot predict where it's going. The internet has birthed so many interesting things that I would have not thought are actually possible to exist, but there they are in the good old internet. But yeah, I think we will have this is just a stepping stone for any sort of social gaming, and we will just go deeper and deeper into that rabbit hole, so to say.
The final question I've got is about the heavily saturated marketplace again, which it keeps popping up today. How do you stand out after we've gone through all of your silver bullets? How can we, and it's still not working, what do you think we can do? Do we just pick up the phone and say, Aarni, come get us, come save us?
Don't do that. I'm busy enough already, but
I can make you busier.
But you should, and this is also another at least $1 million question, but you should do really careful like market research on what's actually out there, and if you can actually execute on the idea. So if you're gonna make a match-3 game, does it make sense for you to make a match-3 game? Do you have some sort of an audience overlap, for example, with another something, maybe a theme or something that's never been done before in match-3 game, and then finding that the way to sell that to the audience, that's probably the key. But that's the simple formula, but that's really hard to actually execute in practice.
Well, look, you absolutely rock, and we've had an amazing time with you today. If people want to get in touch with you, they can do so via the information that you gave on your slides, or maybe pop over to our Discord for a few minutes and say hey. That would be amazing. I know that there'll be many more questions. There's been a lot of love for you, and you've given some really good positivity in this session. So thank you very much indeed. Yes, always love.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you very much indeed. It was great to see you. Thank you.
Great to see you too. I hope to see you all in person, perhaps someday, so we can do this on an actual stage.
Oh, that'd be amazing. January, that's what it'll be. Finger hearts. See you then.
All right, see you then. I'll be in Discord for at least half an hour now after this, so you can ask me questions there.
Thank you, Aarni. Thank you.